Hey, everybody, I am Tommy. You are on the lifeboat. I'll tell you what, man, I am exhausted. I don't know when this day started, but I think it was like the first week of September. Lisa B, looking good in green. Hello, Regina Carter. Aspen English. Just found my channel. Well, how cool. Welcome to the boat. Naomi, good to see you. Laura, what's happening? Diane. We do need a poll, right? Oh, Ohio State girl, what's happening? First time catching a live. Welcome to the boat. Too cool. Roberta, good to see you. Diane McFarland. Canada here. Love Canada. We got a lot of Canadians here. Shannon Smith, good to see you. Diana Smith, good to see you. Got the Smith clan out in force. Ohio State girl. Sweet Liberty, Ann Brown, what's happening? Empaths, Providence 2, Vixen, Kestrel, there you are. Sweet Liberty, Vixen, what's happening? What's happening? Hey, Ben. Brenda, good to see you. Ann, I'm glad you're here. Laura, Hey, Monica. Mayor's Girl, what's happening? Incarnasol, good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, Lynn Sanity. Good to see you, Lynn Sanity. Glad that you're here, man. How cool. Kristen Melinda. Can't stay tonight? Oh, no. Can we get some thoughts and prayers for Kristen Melinda's dad, please? Keeping her in our thoughts and prayers. If you're brand new to the boat, the number one is how we say, hey, you know what? For some people, it means that they're going to hit their knees and say a prayer. Hey, Jack, for some people, it means that they're going to go light a candle or do whatever. And for some people that aren't religious, they send cool stuff up of their tummy like a Care Bear, I think was what I heard. Ivy's mama, good to see you. What's up, Mayor's Girl? Paula Pendley, what's up? Allison Metcalf Colombo, good to see you. Aunt KK. James, the newest of our wrenches. Good to have you here, man. Heather, how are you? On your way to work? Oh, that doesn't sound good. Taylor Miller, my sister George. All right, let's get this boat underway, shall we? The newest nut, Purple Groovy, Katrina, Vicky Groom, Tesla Gray, Emmy J, MJ. Glad you're here. Casey, how you doing? Tony Hoban, what's happening? Jarhead, good to see you. Lisa Trimble's here. Hey, Kit Kat. Peanut, 2 months. Wow, man. Time flies. Thank you for the support. It means the world to me. It really does. Danny Zenny. Kim Roy, how you doing? Is that a JJ? JJ, checking in from Florida. Good to see you. All right, people. I guess really, honestly, someone said, you know, the little bit of clickbait. I'll be honest, it is a little bit of clickbait, but it's a very little bit. What it is really is that the grand jury has never, they didn't ever break it up. Grand jury's basically been impaneled for a very long time. But they are seeing new people. They're asking questions. They're bringing new people are getting subpoenaed to appear in front of the grand jury. Now, where is it going? Not 100% sure, right? Hey, V. Good to see you, V. Glad you're here. Hey, Spike Z, what's happening? So this is one of those situations where because of the people that are getting called, it's really kind of hard to get a beat on exactly what's going on. If you watched me with Sean earlier today on the Sean Atwood program, one of my favorite places to be, very, very cool spot, you saw us in an interview with a gentleman by the name of Courtney Burgess. And he was open and honest and said that he has received a grand jury subpoena. And he is going to be, he's definitely going to be going in there and talking. What happens after that? Who knows? Chicken Cherry Cola, good to see you. Allegedly, Jay-Z and Bey are speaking out now because they are tired of their names being dragged through the mud like this. Well, you know what? They're going to like the boat. Because here's the thing. I'm not going to say that I assume these people are guilty of anything. I'm not. What I will tell you is this. Everyone else says that. Everybody else seems to allege that these people are deep. Hey, CKM, how are you? Love Louisiana. It's one of my favorite states. Miss Weedy Poo, how you doing? Welcome. Christine, good to see you. So we're going to be looking at some really odd stuff happening in the next, say, 10 days, I would say. The next 10 days. we're going to see either superseding indictments or new people are going to get indicted, maybe a little bit of both. There are camps out there that believe wholeheartedly we are 7 days away from seeing Jay get arrested on this. Now, I don't know where they're getting it. I don't, but you people email me constantly, and there's a whole horde of you that believe for some reason that in the next 7 days. Now, I know that there have been some people out there that have suggested that. I think Gene Deal may have mentioned that. Maybe Minor. And I have said, I put a lot of stock in the things that Gene Deal says. I really do. And I think that Gene's been pretty open and honest about the fact that he absolutely went in front of a grand jury, right? Tampa B, man, good to see you. How many likes? Not enough. Never enough likes. Thank you, Roberta. I appreciate that. So what are they asking these people? And is this an opportunity for them to we know something else. We know that. So I had somebody send me an email yesterday. Hey, Steph, somebody sent me an email yesterday and said, listen, I've got this on absolute authority, right? That Jonathan Odie was one of the people that testified on this week's grand jury. That to me is shocking, right? I believe that they would want to talk to him. It would really be tough to get him down there. I'm not saying it couldn't be done because they do it all the time, but he's going to be shackled, and boy, it would be a very, very difficult time. Kim Porter's revenge. Last year we got the Cassie case on 11/15, settled 11/16. So this year's expect more exposures. Well, and we're seeing it, right? We're seeing these things start picking up momentum, right? Legitimately, the lawsuits from Busby seem to be coming quicker, right? They're starting to pick up a little bit of speed. These are all horrific allegations. A couple of other developments. You remember the very first lawsuit we talked about, right? The very first lawsuit that came up that we talked about was somebody from Howard University that went to school with allegedly went to school with Sean Combs, and his freshman year, he allegedly assaulted this woman. She has filed as a Jane Doe, and I'm not sure why, but the courts have ruled that they would like to, if she wants to go forward with this, she's going to have to give up her name. I struggle with this one, people. I really do. I struggle with this one. I have a problem with that. This is a guy that people are afraid of. Right? This is a guy. No, Agnes, the grand jury is not meeting as we speak. No, they've been meeting though for the last week. And this, so you understand how the system works here, right? The grand jury must come up with the charges, right? They do the indictments. And the old adage goes, a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. Right? You can indict a ham sandwich in a grand jury. And the reason for that is there's a lot of people there. And I think a lot of times they know why they're there, right? They know why they're there. And they're there to get some arrest warrants sworn out, right? But they're meeting for some reason. And I promise you, they're not interviewing these people. Agnes says, who's Audie? Okay. This is the guy who he went into the Doral and took out a pew-pew and started firing it into the ceiling. And when they sent cops down there, he fired at those people, right? And that's a real problem. Like, they get real dicey when you start shooting at federal agents, right? Not good at all. So, but when they brought him in, came back from the hospital and they were interviewing him. This is years before any of this crap came out about freak offs or any of this. And he came across very kind of conspiratory, tinfoil hat kind of stuff, talking about Illuminati and talking about, and I'm not saying that any of this stuff isn't right, by the way, right? So don't yell at me. But it sounded almost a little unhinged. He didn't sound like he was all there. But then the name Diddy comes up and he says, I was a sex slave for Diddy and Cassie. Sex slave. 15 times they called me out there, and just starts breaking down the entire thing. And at the time, everybody was like, what? Sex slave? Come on now. Right? So Diddy's bringing you in there to have sex with his significant other. Makes a lot of sense, right? Now, of course not. Of course not. Doesn't work as it's turning out now, right? As it's turning out now, this is really awful. Kathy, good to see you. Sorry. Oh, no. Thoughts and prayers, please. Get some ones going out to Kathy Ann. Kathy's one of our hardest working mods. I hope you feel better, Kathy Ann. Thank you. Renee B, good to see you. What's happening? Hello, Katrina. So there have been allegedly, because these are from leaks, but allegedly 2 sex workers have been brought in. Now, you got to assume that they know what they're doing. Is this all about Diddy? Is this about other people? You know, what's going on? Because they're doing these because they want new indictments. I assume these are going to be superseding indictments for Diddy. That's my personal take. I don't think that we're going to see new names. I don't think we're about to see the arrest of somebody outside of the Diddyverse, right? I don't think we're going to see somebody in the, say, Jay-Z and Beyonce camp. I just don't see it. I really don't. However, I've been wrong before, right? I've been wrong before a lot. So it's going to be worth hanging out and watching. It really is. Hey, CKM, what a cool thing to say. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you're here. Jonathan Audie won a lawsuit against Puffy. That's when it all went haywire. Well, there are some tinfoil hat wearing folks who say that everything that kind of happened at the Doral happened because of something that this guy was given by the people in the Diddyverse. That's a popular theory out there, that he was drugged with something. Never a fear that you've gone overboard. Never a fear. Can somebody do me a huge favor? Huh? I need somebody to do me a huge favor. And I'm sorry to do this, man, but this is how it goes. Buddhist beer, goodbye. You have been trashing me on other forums for a long period of time, right? And you had an awful lot to say about me. It's funny that you've come back here to be friends. I'm a little shocked by that. If you have a wrench, smack Buddhist beer with it and get that person blocked. Sorry. Hate doing it. I really do. I hate doing it. And they say JD DeLay in the New York Post has a copy of the Freak-Off tapes. That may be the case. I think that there are a lot of people out there that have copies of some of this, right? Whether or not those are actually freak-offs, you have to understand that these parties, right? People were doing a lot of really crazy things at these parties. Whether the videos that everyone is starting to have are from the inner sanctum, from the freak-offs, I think it might be difficult to separate one from the other, right? Like I've said recently, there's been footage coming out, right, that shows what appears to be Diddy parties, right? It's a very difficult thing to figure out if something legitimately is or isn't a Diddy party, right? I mean, if it's a white party, it makes it a little easier. But a lot of these parties, people get dressed up and, you know, their racks are out here and they're showing their butts. And it seems like there's a dress code, right, to all of these things, whether the parties are being thrown by Jamie Foxx, right? Whether the parties are being thrown by Diddy. There were a lot of people who were throwing, that were trying to outdo one another with these parties. Now, by all accounts, Diddy was the king of it. Hey, Basso, what's happening? Love watching everyone use your info and not giving you credit. Well, you know what? I'm sure I've done that to some people in the past as well. I'm sure that I have done that in the past to some people. It's one of those things that we all tend to do. But you know what? We've been blessed. We've had some pretty cool things come out recently. Hey, Grow Greenland, glad that you're here. I've saw me on the Atwood program. Excellent. I've been doing a lot of work with Sean Atwood. Really enjoy not only Sean but Shane. It's a great crew over there. It really is. I'm having a lot of fun working with them. Thank you, Michelle. Will additional superseding indictments be required on or before the discovery deadline? Well, here's the thing. My understanding is they can't really. This is a very kind of. This is not something etched in stone, right? This is something, and I said this right at the very beginning. I didn't see any way, right, that all of the discovery was going to be handed over to the defense by the 31st of December, ready to roll in May. Now, a superseding indictment spikes all that. All those dates are gone. All those dates are gone. It's a whole new batch of discovery. It's really blows the case open larger. This is going to be a very difficult thing for the defense, right? Superseding indictments are terrifying if you're an inmate. I cannot explain to you how terrifying the concept of superseding indictment is, or what they call an ad book, right? You wake up in the morning in your cell. Life sucks anyway, right? But you wake up in the cell and there's a piece of paper on the floor. And it's usually, if it has black, like a black bar that goes all the way across it, right below that black bar are your new charges. And sometimes, like I got one back in the day when I was really a criminal, and there were 3 pages of ad books. It was like 16 arrest warrants or something. And it's depressing, right? It's depressing. And you got to put yourself where this dude is right now, right? He's never been alone. This guy is, by all accounts, an egomaniac, right? Now, he's innocent until proven guilty, right? So we're not suggesting that he's guilty of anything until they say he's guilty of it. But where there's a crap load of smoke, people, more often than not, kind of looks a lot like there's fire there. Roberta, there are squirrel nut zipper shirts on the way. Promise you. Can Courtney get in trouble for sharing these photos? Well, here's the deal on that, right? Here's the deal on that one. I don't know the answer to that, right? I don't know the answer to whether or not he can get in trouble for sharing those photos. However, I know that before we went live, there were certain things that they did not want us to say. And one of them would have been something along the lines of, hey, man, don't you have some tapes, right? He has no problem leaking out some of these photos. But because of specific verbiage, like tapes were something they didn't want us to say. And he's been pretty damn courageous, right, throughout all this, even when people were really afraid of Diddy. And that's been going on for a long time. You know, now we look at him and we see pictures of him allegedly, kissing Rick Ross, or we see him, talking to Meek Mill about putting that work in, daddy, right? You know, there's some really odd stuff that we see coming out. And we tend to start thinking about the guy in terms of, he's sweet, right? You know, he's a little sweet and you don't have to worry about him. He's the kind of guy you slap around or whatever, right? This is a common misconception, by the way, right? A common misconception, because a person's sexuality, I promise, is not going to have a whole lot to do with how well they fight. I knew a guy that was in the fish tank with me on the state bid I did. They called him Gay Jason. And this fool had a knuckle game like nothing you've ever seen. And there were guys that would run their suck holes and start picking on the guy for his preferences. And I remember this guy just jaw-jacking at him for hours. So we were on in the fish tank. You're locked down 24 hours, and then the next night you're locked down. You get 15 minutes every other day out of your cell. Absolutely awful. And it's that way for like 45 days, right? Just it's a kind of a horrific. Hold on one second. Just found your podcast when I was watching Sean Atwood. Love your content. Watching from Ontario, Canada. We got a lot. Thank you so much, Kristen Melinda, by the way. Just got to your mom's. Yeah, thoughts and prayers going out to you, Kristen Melinda. And I really hope that that he is able, this is an easy process for you. Thank you, Arlo. I really appreciate it. Look at that. People are turning green all over the place, right? All over the place. Hey, Heather, good to see you. You know something? There we go. I spend way more time bad-mouthing the big red button than I do treating the big red button nicely. So it's probably worth, putting one of these up. Good job. YouTube, see that? It's I showed up on his feed. You know, it's funny when you're not showing up on people's feeds, life sucks. That's where you kind of have to hang out if you want to grow. Perry Young, good to see you. And speaking of growing, thank you for everybody that is hitting the subscribe button, right? I have never been one of those people that says, hey, hit the bell for notification and make sure you hit the subscribe button. I just feel freaking cheesy trying to say it. You know what I mean? But I do appreciate the fact that people are hitting subscribe. And I also know that about 50% of you don't, right? It was about 40% last week, but about 50% of you just don't. Could be the nose. You know what I'm saying? I got a pretty pronounced proboscis. Adele, how are you? Also in Ontario, huh? Canadians everywhere. Hey, Nesquick, what's happening? Mindy Doolin, good to see you. So this is one of those things, people, where we're going to see some antics, right? We're going to see some antics coming forward. Oh, so I'm sorry. The fish tank. So while you're in that fish tank, there's a guy just jaw jacking and picking on the guy they call Gay Jason. And Jason just calm as hell said, when they pop these doors, I'm going to light you up. Right. And then the guy would just go off on him again for hours, yelling at him out the door and whatever. And as promised, they popped those doors and Jason came out on the tips of his toes, like bouncing, and hit that dude with a 5-piece before he got his hands up. Just dropped them. So you never want to judge a book by its cover or by its sexual preference, right? Those dudes got hands, man. You got to be really, really careful. I like what they've done. Blowing up the. You people look a lot bigger on my screen now. I'm digging it. You know what? Perry Young, thank you. I am right now. The boat is on a pretty good run. You know, we've had a couple of good runs in the past. Jimmy, good to see you. They kind of come and go, right? And I think that the key is to try to act the same way when you haven't put a subscriber in 6 months as you do when you're putting in 150 a day. And if you can maintain that, you know, I'm probably smiling a little bit more because this is just fun. You know what I mean? It's a lot more fun playing to a bigger house. Chrissy from Maui. Well, that's a kind thing to say. I appreciate that. I identify as late. My pronouns are almost and there. Tampa, I love that. Tampa B is a longtime friend of the boat. A very long time friend of the boat. Always a pleasure to have you. See how big that is? That's the first time I've ever looked at your avatar and had any idea what I was looking at. For real, Tampa B. I love this new thing where they're blowing this thing up all big as hell. I like it. Rambo says, love seeing all the new faces. You know something? It's a hell of a lot of fun. It really is. Tip 420, good to see you. Hey, Snake. Yeah, Diane, it's we've been getting a lot of growth. And truth be told, these are some of the thumbnails that we can put up. I mean, you put up a thumbnail that says he told his kids to lay low and they're burying him. That's going to get a lot of clicks. And the truth is they are. If you missed the earlier video, that's exactly what they're doing. Diddy is going to try to argue that they're kicking the issue of bail back down. They're not handling it at the appeals level. They're kicking it back down, which means he's going to have to go in front of this judge he's already argued in front of, or the new judge, and he's going to have to present his case. Now, you've got prosecution that can come in there and go, yeah, about that not messing with people on the witness list. Allegedly, your kids have tried to attack a dude named Ray J on 3 different occasions, right? And then that's what's alleged. And then at a Halloween party over the weekend, they tried for the 4th attempt. Well, I'd be really surprised if he's not on the witness list. The feds have a very unique way of just making the witness list go from here to Tokyo. Now, they don't have to call everybody on the witness list, right? But they put on anyone they might call. And very often they'll pack those lists just to make it confusing as hell, right? But I would go out on a limb and say that there's a chance Ray J's on that list. And if that's the case, how easy is it for the prosecution to go, read any newspaper, man, right? These are agents of that enterprise we're talking about, right? His kids work there. They're a part of this. In fact, a couple of them might get arrested, right? There are allegations out there about one for sure and possibly a second. Spikesy says, Tommy, dude, everybody needs to hit that subscribe button. I think that would be a great idea. Be a dragon. I love the name. I got a really funny story about a dragon sometimes. Laura Lou, good to see you. It's one of those stories that takes a long time to tell. So I'll do it sometime when I'm absolutely not falling down from tired. Now, antics of Mama Squirrel. Would that be? Are you describing Diddy, or is that a shot at the host? Ginger tea is good for the tummy. Perry Young, thank you. Didi Dazzle, good to see you. we're going to see either a superseding indictment, right? We're going to see something, and we're going to see it come in the next 7 days. And I believe, this is just me, right? I believe that part of what they're doing is just tightening up this case, right? Because in order to prove the elements, if you got 2 people that you called in there who said, yeah, I got paid, you realize that that's it. That's it, right? All you got to do is prove that you flew these cats in for the purpose of what? Right? You are bringing them in to sell their service, right, for the purpose of one of these free calls. I got news for you. That right there proves their case, right? It's that simple. Sadly, it's the truth, right? They got no shot. Christy says Chris Brown was 15, went to New York, he got into drugs, etc., like Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston. Chris Brown and Rihanna, assault, etc. Yeah, so allegedly at this party over the weekend, he jumped out of his car and stopped what could have turned into real trouble for the Combs boys, right? For real. I mean, what if they were successful? What if they were successful and they were able to fight this guy? Allegedly, they had like 8 dudes, right? The 3 brothers and about 5 friends. You're gonna jump somebody with 8 people? My God. You know, they will be in MDC Brooklyn. They'll be in there quickly. And I promise you, the feds, if these kids do anything, the federal government is going to try to tie it to this is because of this case. Whatever they just did and whoever they just attacked or put hands on or threatened or whatever, they're doing this because these people are potential witnesses in this case. And it's hard to argue because the reason that they're pissed off at Ray J is because he said some things that were less than flattering about his old man. He made a reference to the fact that J.D. McKay, or is that Mackey? It's Mackey. Good to see you. See that? Now I can see these people because I'm really, really digging it. I am really, really, really digging it. Everybody, I think, assumes that Diddy's mom has a hand in this because everybody and their brother, right? Everybody and their brother has made reference to the fact that there's nothing that this guy has ever kept in his own name. And by the way, that's not necessarily illegal, right? If you're doing it for the purpose of hiding your stuff, if you're doing this for the purpose of making it look as if you have no assets, or if you're doing this because you're trying to evade paying taxes and things of that nature, it becomes a crime. Michelle, you know something? A lot of people really do dig this. I hate that smug face of Diddy's always with a toothpick and fur coats. Have you ever noticed he doesn't shut his mouth very often? Honestly, like I have spent hideous amounts of time looking at photos, right, of through parties and after parties and white parties and anything you can get, because what you're looking for, right, obviously with what we do, you're looking for that photo that somebody hasn't seen yet. And Getty Images has got like, I don't know, 20,000 photos or something of Diddy at parties. But the guy's mouth's never shut. I don't know if he's a mouth breather or what the deal is, but in every photo, that dude's mouth is open, which I find a little bizarre. The nurse who loved me, good to see you. Zelda, what's happening? Lisa Box, good to see you. Grammy 913, Susie in Paradise. Angie Mo, Barbara. How much of a dumb Diddy do are you when Chris Brown makes better decisions than you? Ding, 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 ding. Yahtzee, right? That is a great comment. That's a great comment. How dumb are you when a cat like Chris Brown is the level head in the room? Well, parking garage, but you understand the point. The level head in the room was a guy that isn't known for making great decisions, right? Sounds like Three Stooges also have Diddy's temper. Yeah, right? Well, and you know something? Of course they do. And do you know why they do? Because these people have not had a whole lot of, no, we're not doing that. I don't think they heard a whole lot of that in life, right? I don't. The phone call to say to your dad, who is sitting in solitary confinement, right, facing life. Let's keep it real. No matter what they tell you, he's facing life. This kid comes in and says, "Hey, what are we going to do about dude's whip? We need to take care of paying for for your son's $180,000 payment to the people they lease their cars from. 180 grand? Holy hell, man. Tommy, Busby is clearly making bank. I looked into his background. I'm on the fence about him releasing juicy names. I'll tell you something. He's absolutely making bank. And you know what? There's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of stuff that is going to come out, or that's not going to come out in this case. And what I mean by that is, I'm sure they're boiler rooming out of that office. I'd be shocked if they're not calling people and saying, hey, I've got some photos you might want to take a look at. Not suggesting you did a damn thing wrong, right? But you might want to kill this. You might want to get in here and do what you can to get in front of this, because there's some photos down here that don't put you in a very favorable light. And I'll bet you that those are getting settled like this. Because if it were me and there were pictures of me and Diddy and I got 30 or 40 million dollars in the bank, how much do you want, right? To not release a picture of me standing at one of that dude's parties, even if you never touched anybody. At this point, there's just being at these things, right? Your association, your proximity to Diddy can absolutely destroy your brand, right? This is a weird concept, I think. This is a really weird concept, and it's something that I probably would have had a very different opinion on, say, 3 or 4 years ago, right? But I've seen what happens when someone lies about you, and I have a channel this big, right? There are the potential, right, for things that people say to destroy you is frightening. Right? Really, really frightening. And the brand concept, right? If it damages a brand of somebody that's talking on the big red button, look at what has happened to the Diddy brand, right? If you go back prior to the Cassie lawsuit, we had Sean John, we had all of the cologne and the perfumes and all of that, the glasses that were at every everywhere you went, they had Sean John, right? For frames, high dollar stuff, right? High dollar stuff. So Sean John was in Macy's, and then he had allegedly 28 different companies that were pumping him cash for whatever reason, right? Obviously for product getting moved or him endorsing things or whatever. 28 different people, different companies were sliding him cash. None of them, right? Nothing is left. Nothing. The only way that this dude can make $1 at this point, unless he sells a tell-all book, which could happen, I guess. But his music catalog is the only thing he's got left, right? You want to have some fun? Google the photos of the home office of Bad Boy, right? The one in New York City. Get a look at it. Tell me how long that baby's been shut down. Because by the look of it, it looks like it's been a hot minute since the last time it was open. VT, the coroner. Hey, Tommy. Hey, chat. Top of the evening from East Oakland, California. Smash that like button, gang, and subscribe. You know something? I lived in Oakland. I lived in Oakland for almost a year. In fact, I lived in the former where the mayor's mansion used to be. I lived in the mayor's mansion, so it turned into a halfway house. Was I surprised to find out that 4X was Snoop Dogg? Now, here's the thing. By way of full disclosure, right? He's one of those people that they've Disneyed him, right? This guy went from murder was the case that they gave me to kicking it with Martha Stewart and joking about, right? The more I dive into this, and I like the guy, but the more I dive into this, the more I come across people who say he is not what he appears. And I mean a lot of people. So I probably would have been more freaked out if I had gotten this word, say, a month ago. But there are a lot of people talking a lot of smack about a lot of people, but his name keeps coming up. And there are some images. If you look at And if you saw the show that we did today on the Sean Atwood program with Courtney Burgess, Courtney Burgess has got a lot to say about Snoop, right? He tells stories about Snoop jamming on the brakes or running like hell when no one else does. He said that this was a guy that hides, runs. That's a sad thing to hear, right? You really don't want to hear that. But so if you want to put on your tinfoil hat, right, and really rock this, then the theory is once you completely sell out, then you get the huge checks and you get the world will love you and all of those things. However, you're gonna have to give up just what Cat Williams was talking about, right? Because Diddy wants to party. And you got to tell him no. Unfortunately, I don't think what is being alleged is that Snoop didn't tell him no, right? Who needs a tinfoil hat when Diddy is around? Well, you know what? The incredible thing is we are going to have a shot. Hold on one second. Do you think there's any connection between Diddler Will Smith and the time he slapped Chris Rock? Well, I'll tell you something. Diddy was there and was one of the first people to the stage, allegedly, after the slapping, right? Diddy was the one that tried to get out there and calm everybody down. Hey, man, this is about love, right? Blah, blah. There's a lot about Will Smith. There's just, hey, thank you, Love Mama Bear. 10 months? Will Smith, people. I would assume that most of you have seen most of you have seen the interview with Brother Bilal, where he talks about being on a set and having to go out and find Will. And he found him in mid-coitus, right? And I believe the term he used was that Will was on the couch, bent over the couch, and Dwayne was behind him, killing him, murdering him. I believe is what he said, right? Murder in there. It's just murder. It's there's a lot of people, right? There's an awful lot of people that talk a lot of smack about Will Smith. And then when you start doing deep dives, you come across him saying things that are really, really odd, right? Not to mention that whole thing with kissing your son, right? Like that morning show on the Lifeboat, that's my son, right? That's Spanx Calhoun. And I love my son more than anything on earth. I promise you, the crap that he does with his kid is just disturbing, man. Disturbing. Enjoyed your Bolger discussion. His brother was head of the Massachusetts State Senate. That's right. So ran the MSP and made budgets for the courts. Between them, they owned the state. Priests, abusers, and cemetery access. You know, they ran into trouble. If you start to go back and look at that, what you end up looking, there was a busing issue, right? And that's really, they got out of control with this busing thing. And if they hadn't, he might have stayed doing what he was doing for a while. One of the questions I just got was, do sex addicts go into withdrawal? They probably do. He's not a sex addict, right? Make no mistake. He's not a sex addict. He's not doing this because he is addicted to sex. He's doing this because this is how the man controls people. This is what he does. This is his get down. And I'll tell you why I say that. On the boat, we deal with people who are addicted to everything, right? Food, sugar, whatever. We've had a ton of people whose problem was that they were addicted to sex, and most of the time they tend not to go for men, women, children, right? If the allegations, right, if everything that is being alleged is true. So far, we know of this guy assaulting both male and females as young as 9, right? It's not, this isn't about him trying to have sex and enjoy himself. It's not. And the R word never is. But this guy isn't participating, right? Allegedly, what was going on at these freak-offs was him sitting in the corner, no offense, rubbing out a giggity, right? This guy wasn't in the process of trying to have intercourse with anybody. Very interesting theory. Somebody from the boat reached out to me and said, he may have a really, really small unit, right? And I'll tell you something, it's a theory, right? It's a theory. James says Snoop is a snitch. Here's the deal. I remember very like it was yesterday when that whole murder was the case that they gave me thing. And he was on trial for murder, right? For murder. And the world looked at him like a thug. If you go back and look at any of the images of him sitting at the defense table looking thug-like. I mean, thug-like. He's a very different guy today, right? Now he's that happy-go-lucky weed smoker, but that's not always the image this cat had. If you look at any pictures of him with Tupac, say the last 6 months that that Tupac was alive, every time he's in a picture with Tupac, he looks angry, I don't know, pissed, sad. I don't know what's going on in his head, but it ain't normal. And it's funny because Courtney Burgess brought it up, and I have heard other people say it. It was one of the first things when I first started deep diving this, I was like, what do you think happened to him this night? Because he looks pissed. There are people who claim that they allege that Snoop was definitely doing some work with the Popo out in California. I don't know. I really don't. What am I hearing about Prince Harry being on the Diddy tapes? Well, you're not going to come across the princes on Diddy tapes. I don't think that is going to happen, right? It's just not, and that's probably a good thing. The handlers, right, for the boys were smart enough that when Diddy sent out one invite after another to these parties, they were smart enough to or maybe the boys were, right, the young men were, but they didn't show up there, which is a really good thing. Spike says, Tommy, can we talk about Diddy and the NPD? It was mentioned on Surviving the Survivor. Well, this is what has been alleged. It's been alleged that he owned the police in New York, right? Owned them. That if you went into some of these precincts where they have the pictures of all of the people on the wall, it's like the last, I don't know, nine people that were, the top dog. They were the captain or whatever of the precinct. Next to that is a picture of Diddy. This is what is alleged in several precincts. It looks like he was spreading around an awful lot of money, right? Looks like he was spreading around an awful lot of money, and he shot someone in the face. Right? Shot someone in the face, and managed to walk and managed to pin it on somebody else. Good Lord. He got rebranded as new and improved like laundry detergent, says Barbara. There's something to that. He definitely has beat me up, says he was cripped out. Yeah. Laura Lou says he was jealous of Tupac. I think that's what you see. I'll be honest. I think there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of jealousy there. Yeah, Jay Rambo says, Tommy, did you see the interview with Tupac and Snoop with MTV 3 days before he was unalived? It's haunting. It is. Make no mistake, it is. In 1996, says James, acquitted voluntary manslaughter after years of being arrested for the yayo. And he's the one not unalived or in jail like Suge, Biggie, and Pac. Well, you know something? It's a difficult thing to look at and not go, yeah, that doesn't make it a whole lot of sense, right? This is a dude that was in deep by all accounts, right? Doesn't seem to have gotten hemmed up though. Christy says, Will Smith, I don't like that he uses his skin as a divider, boycotts Oscars, blackout, and then he assaults Chris Rock, still wins an Oscar, right? The Williams didn't retract them. They should have, right? My irk is Popeye. Nope, too far. Here's the deal. It's low-hanging fruit, right? It's low-hanging fruit. I'm sorry, but it's an easy way out, isn't it? Right? It's an easy way out. If you just say this is a race thing, I'm sorry, but it is an easy way out, right? Who wants to go up against that? For real, as a white person who wants to go up against that and go, no, there's no racism there. You sound like right? It's a very difficult thing, right? This is one of those things where if somebody says to you, look, my best friend is black. He is, right? There's no getting around that. My best friend is black. But if somebody says, you're racist, Tommy, there's no answer that I can answer to that I look good. If you go, no, I got a lot of black friends, everybody in the room laughs, right? Because that's the standard answer, isn't it? And if you start to defend yourself, you're defending yourself against something. This is why I don't answer trolls, for the same reason. Don't give nonsense the time of day, right? I don't give it the time of day. But unfortunately, keep it real. It's one of those things that it can shut down the conversation quick as hell. You call somebody a racist, it's game over, because defending yourself makes you look like you're actually a racist. These guys are loose cannons waiting for the ball and chain to drop. I cannot see a scenario that at least one of his kids doesn't get hemmed up. The lawsuit that alleges the assault on the yacht, that's got to be within the statute of limitations. It's only a couple of years ago, right? This was last year, I believe. That's going to be well within the statute of limitations, right? I don't see how at least one of his kids does not end up incarcerated. That's true. He's far more than my best friend, right? No, Christy, you didn't do anything wrong on that. That's a legitimate question. It really is. No big deal. What about Ice Cube or Ice-T? Have they aged out of this scene? None of them want to say a word, because at this point, everybody and their brother are trying to protect their brand from what the Diddyverse can do to your brand. Okay? Now, if you're somebody that reports on him, right, this is great for your brand. But if you can be tied to him, if they've got pictures of you holding his hand, if you've got pictures that are that look compromising, even if it's not what it appears, kind of like that Justin Bieber thing we talked about last night. And if it sounds like I'm going back to that, it's because I spent plenty of time talking about what if that's real. It's not real. So I feel like I need to pop off with that as often as possible. The Smiths are way into freak and have been before all this came out. Jada Pinkett is the absolute. She's terrifying. She's friggin' terrifying. Have you ever seen the, what did they call it? Is it Red Table? It's called the Red Table. She had some kind of like podcast thing where they just sit at a table. That weird name. I think it was the James. The Red. I think it was called the Red Table. But he sat down at that table with her for what had to be one of the most cringy interviews that you've ever seen on earth. Just awful. There's a great clip of film, a really great clip of film where there's somebody giving him a massage. And he comments that takes a guy to know, right? A guy's he says something that I'm paraphrasing. Only a man knows what makes a man feel good, type of thing. That you're way better off with a dude than with a woman, kind of thing. And as he's saying this, there's a bunch of people there. Jada is right behind him, and the look on her face when he says it, it has to be offensive, right? But if you believe the rumors that are coming out, they have a horrible relationship. Him being a cuck is just part of what their get down, I guess. For real. The person she had an affair with was her son's best friend or her son's friend. She's terrifying, poof. She's absolutely terrifying. Linda says, yes, it's the Red Table. Well, if anybody saw that, when she had her son there, it was just awful. Humble and Kind says, love Sean Atwood. He is awesome. I agree with you, man. He's a good dude. He really is. He's a good dude. Linda says she's a nutbag and to no end. Sleeping with her son's friend is, oh God, it's so disgusting. It really is, right? It is so disgusting. And then double down on it. Sit your husband down at a table and talk to him about it. Right? Tell him it was great. Holy hell. Holy hell. It's a Holly weird. Now, you can, no allegations here, right? But there are men, and you've heard Jaguar Wright say this in 3 or 4 different interviews, that there have been young men who literally ran screaming out of Will Smith's house to get away from the mentorship, right, that he was doing with these kids. Like the Bashir kid, I can't remember his first name right now, which is terrible, but I can't think of it. Something Bashir. Anyone seen Kris Jenner is linked in the photo when Kim passed? Travis Courtney, husband linked, and then Lamar has turned page. Sorry, people. No, I have not seen that. I have not seen that. But I'll tell you something else, right? I'm not alleging anything. You hear this? I'm not even busting out with an allegedly. But what I will say is this: that family may be the creepiest family on earth. I'm sorry. The Kardashians just creep me the hell out. Everything about that entire family is just freaky to me. It really is. It's just bizarre. Yeah, he started the process. Apparently, because I chased this down the other day. Apparently, he started the process to emancipate himself and jammed on the brakes before the process actually was followed all the way through. But he definitely made an attempt to. Yeah, Will is wildly off, right? Will is wildly off. Will lives he lives in a closet, right? By all accounts, this is a dude who is wildly bisexual, if not homosexual. And who cares? For real, who cares? But I don't know if you guys have heard the expression, a beard, right? Where you have a woman that you're married to who just sort of makes it look like you're that person, right? But you're really living on the down low. And that seems to be what's up with Will Smith. At least, certainly that's how it looks. Judy Jetson, good to see you. Joan, more interesting, a Bulger nephew on the Hunter Biden Burisma team. Well, I'll be damned. Romney had a bagman on the board also. Small world, Ukraine had a pedo problem. Lots of politicians went there for years. I'll be damned. I'll be damned. Krista, you can't tell me he's not a mouth breather. Seriously, that guy is a mouth breather. That's true. His first wife, you mean? Yeah, his first wife absolutely called him out. He wasn't going to, his first wife allegedly wasn't going to stick around for all the stuff that his current wife sticks around for. But the reason she's cool with sticking around for that is she's a stone cold freak as well. When her kids were fighting, she suggested that they try some mushrooms because that will bring the family together. And I'll tell you something, people. I've my opinion on psilocybin, the active ingredient in mushrooms. I've been super open about this, right? I do not have any fear at all of that substance. It is almost impossible to abuse because of the mechanism of how it works in the body. There's so much chemical release to get you that buzz that if you tried to do it 3 days in a row, by the third day, you would have to be eating huge amounts to get the same kind of a, it's very, very difficult. No, he's definitely not getting the comfort style food of Cracker Barrel in prison. He's not, look, the chips. People, I'm going to tell you something. Even if you got all of the money in the world, right? If you're on a regular yard, you can spend $360 a month, right? That's what you can spend. And I promise you, you can get obese spending $360 a month at that store because of all of the different things that they sell that are just horrifically fattening, right? It is kind of comfort food. He can't get any of that, right? He can't get any of that. He's in the shoe. So the segregated housing unit. And in the segregated housing unit, even if you didn't do anything wrong to get there, you still have to do what everybody else does. They're not going to say, well, you can watch TV. We'll bring a TV. You're just in the shoe. So he could spend, I think, $15 a week. At least that's what it used to be when I was there. It was $15 a week. Radios don't count. You can buy a radio every week if you wanted to, and he might, and then trade it for things. That's the kind of stuff that people do. No, Blast, you didn't miss it. Well, the honey buns, I would imagine that he's going to lose weight, right? My gut says he's going to lose weight. Almost everybody that gets into the feds loses weight before they gain it, right? Everybody tends to lose weight. And then once they settle in, right, then they start, they make some friends. And then every night these guys put spreads on. And that's sort of how the process gets rolling. Jay Rainbow says, the Diddy mugshot is so unsettling. I feel like if I look in his eyes, he will steal my soul. Rumor is it's not him, but a lookalike that was arrested. Now, I'll tell you something. I have a huge problem with this concept. I have a massive, massive problem with this concept. And I'll tell you why. If you had a lookalike to take the place of Sean Combs, what do you pay him? What does a lookalike get for giving up his life? Because he's not just going away forever, but he is. But he's going away forever, hated, right? Like nobody that has ever come before him hated. This is not, if let's say he was the head of a criminal operation, right? Like the godfather of a crime family. That's the kind of person that you can replace with somebody, because if you got a guy on the street who doesn't have any life at all, he might prefer to be considered a famous gangster inside the joint versus being a nobody on the outside. But that's not Diddy's case. Diddy's case is ugly, right? The jacket, right? The C file. What he's accused of is not considered honorable among the fellas, right? So I would be blown away. I mean, even if you said to the guy, tell you what I'll do, I'll give you $100 million. But you can't spend it. Can't do a damn thing with it, right? I just don't I don't see how there's a possibility that someone could say, I'll go do your rip, right? Pay me X amount of money. You're not getting out, right? This is not the kind of sentence where it's going to be 15 years. If it was going to be 15 years, there's somebody out there dumb enough to say, I'll give up 15 years of my life for X amount of dollars. I'll tell you something, people, when you're in there, it is a completely different thing. If they came up and said, I need a volunteer to cut off the pinky finger on your left hand, right? If you do, we're going to knock 6 months off your sentence. The number of hands that would go smoking up in that room instantly. Somebody put up earlier, kids can't consent. No, they cannot. And neither can anybody who has so much leverage put over them, right? That's not consent either. It isn't. If you go into an interview and the person says to you, here's the deal, right? You're going to get on your knees and do X, Y, and Z, or not only am I not going to do anything with you, but nobody in this industry is ever going to do anything with you. I'm going to destroy you. Because that's really what this dude was doing. It wasn't just a carrot. You could get all of this if you do this. It was, and if you don't, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy you. And as more people start to file these suits, you get a lot of people that are telling the same kind of stories. And they're the kind of thing where he says some vicious stuff. Allegedly, right? He said to a 10-year-old, well, you're going to have to do some things in life you don't want to do. It's terrible. It really is. It's terrible. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I believe he was, if it's the same one we're talking about, you know what? I don't know that one. There was one that recently just happened, and a boy who was, a girl who was 6, and got, and was SA'd by a drug dealer and the drug dealer's friend. And in the process of doing this, the young child contracted HIV. And the judge sentenced, this is a federal offense, the judge sentenced both of these gentlemen to life in prison. One of them ended up at a dropout yard, because that's where people like this, with these kind of crimes, end up. So he was at a yard, special needs yard, PC yard, whatever you want to call it, right? And he didn't make, his life sentence was over in about 40 days. He got there, people found out what he was there for, and they butchered him. And I'll tell you something, it was really odd, because when I read the report on it, it said that that he died in his cell, right? And they found him in his cell at, like, I don't remember what it was, 9 in the morning, 8 in the morning, something like that. Right after, a little earlier, right after they popped the doors, I guess, 6, something like that. But there's only one person that could have done that, right? If you're in a cell and it's you and your cellmate, you didn't unalive yourself, right? This guy was, was taken off the planet. Had to have been his cellmate, right? But I promise you, this is one of those things where the BOP said, yeah, they're looking into it, trying to figure out what happened. I don't think they want to give the guy that did it more time. That's kind of what I read, and why would you? Doing the work of the Lord, as far as I'm concerned. Tommy, do I really believe Diddy can survive prison? I don't know. I don't know. That's it's a very, very interesting question, right? In theory, he should be able to bust this out. In theory, he should be able to go in there, stare at his shoes for a while, right? Not try to be that big flamboyant dude. Just go in there, keep your head down and do your time. And you're going to have to pay some people off, right? You're going to have to spread some cash out in that unit to a bunch of people. Just the way it goes. But if he gets in with the right bunch of fellas and he starts laying some cash out, he's got a shot. He's got a shot. The problem becomes you're on a yard with a bunch of people that a lot of them are probably doing life. What do you got to lose? You know, I'd like to put one on his chin. If I was in there, man, he'd be a fun guy to punch in the face. He would. And you talk about a feather in your cap. Talk about a feather in your cap. That's right, Agnes. He got his card punched. Or as they say inside, he got early release. Right? He got himself early release. Not the way that you want to do it, but he is out. Say what you will. It's, interesting. Diddy makes references to higher powers all the time, but some very interesting stuff concerning that tattoo on the middle of his back. I'm sure you guys have seen it. There's a lot of allegedly, there's a lot out there that he was starting to play around with things like voodoo and some of the other stuff. Now, I mean, granted, at this point, the rumors are, he eats, he eats puppies and kittens. If someone can say something bad about this dude, they're going to, right? Gets clicks, gets a lot of clicks. Jay Rambo. I think a lot of people feel just the way Jay Rambo does. As much as I don't want Diddy's victims to have to relive their trauma in court, I hope he lives long enough to face the music, so to speak. He's definitely going to live long enough to face the music, right? I don't think he gets Epstein before the trial. I just don't. I don't think that there's a chance of that happening because of how it went down the last time. The suspension of disbelief is over. No one would put up with it. There have been too many people, right, like me, that have done time, that have come out and just said, yeah, you're getting lied to. I promise you're getting lied to. Everything you heard about that's a lie, right? As they described, the unalive watch doesn't work anything like they said. Nothing like they said. And when they said one camera is out, people, think about this. This is a high-rise building, right? It's a high-rise building, almost identical to the one that that P. Diddy's in now. It's just the Manhattan version of it. It was the Manhattan Men's Detention Center. This is the Brooklyn Men's Detention Center. Same layout, same kind of concept. You're not going to be on the first floor for the segregated housing unit. You're going to be up top. Usually it's one of the top floors, right? So you're going to have to go in there and get in an elevator, which will be filmed. To get to the floor that Epstein was on, you had to get in an elevator. So the camera in the elevator was out. How about the camera on the other side of the elevator? Because they had to get into it. I mean, it's ridiculous. There would have had to have been all of the cameras out. All of them. There's a camera every 5 feet. If you wanted to find out if somebody went into that cell, it would take you about an hour and a half. Looking through stuff. They didn't want it. They didn't want to go down that road because somebody obviously went in there and did it. It's that simple. At least that's how I see it. J-Lo has to know so much, says Humble and Kind. Curious if she isn't eating out or allowing her kids to eat out. Surely, if she isn't interrogated, she will be a witness. I'd be really surprised if she doesn't get an invite to either be a witness or to be a defendant. I think that there's a chance of this. I really do. And you know something? I think there's also a chance that maybe she's either A or B, right? Maybe she's B rather. The celebrity that went in there and pleasured herself while Diddy and another man essayed a 13-year-old. If it's not her, right? It's somebody. And I think that the world should absolutely know who that is. For real. Because that level of evil, I don't think you should get a pass. I don't think you should be able to fly under the radar. Chica Cherry Cola says, Diddy has serious anger issues. My God, does he? It would be interesting to see if a scan of his brain, It is apparently genetic. I think that this guy had bad wiring. 100%. I think he's got bad wiring. He's one of those people that probably from Jump Street. However, there is plenty of reason and plenty of smoke out there that allegedly he was a victim of SA as a kid. It's not an excuse, by the way. Right? Doesn't get you. It's not a get out of jail free card. That well, I did it because that's not at all what I'm saying. Right? It's not. But to an extent, I think it's always a combination, right, of a person who's not all there and then a series of bad things that happen to them during the course of their childhood that create the kind of scumbag that this guy is. I don't think that anyone is born quite like that. Yeah, Jason Parker says bad wiring and tons of drugs and not a person on planet Earth to say no to you. Think about it. When the last time do you think somebody said no to Diddy? It's honestly, it's scary. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. In defense of Barbara Walters, 2020, in her defense, I think the Corey Feldman thing is hard, right? Think about this for a second. I mean, if you remember how this went down, he came out and said, I'm going to name names, right? But I need a chunk of money about the size of a phone number, right? 7 digits so that I can make a documentary. I'm not suggesting that he's not telling the truth, right? But when you say, I can give up the scumbags that do this, but I'm not gonna until I get some cash, it looks mercenary. It looks really bad. And I think it caused some people, I don't think that means he's a liar. I don't think that any of that. But I think it was a real bad look. And I think one of the reasons that you see people like Barbara Walters, because it's happened in more than one interview. I'm not familiar with the Barbara Walters one, but I've seen other people do the same thing. And I think it comes back to that. It just seemed like he was holding those names ransom. And if you know, right, about these kind of individuals, they don't stop, right? You know how you stop somebody like that? You put them in a wood chipper or you lock them up. There's no other way. These people continue to do what they do until they're stopped. So, yeah. By not dropping those names, by saying, I got to wait until this money comes up, they're doing this to somebody at that time. Those people were out there doing this because that's what they do. And it caused some people to get a little bummed out. And I'm not busting on the dude. You understand? I just don't think he made a great decision. Sir Tedrick says a psychopath brain is black where the limbic system is. Emotions, empathy, guilt, feeling part of the brain is just not engaging. And yeah, when they do the PET scans and you see them, the brain literally lights up with different colors, very like white or red, depending on how much the metabolic rate your brain is using, right, or sucking up sugar or doing whatever, and it puts out that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there, and I think that they're getting better. Judy Jetson says that documentary was a train wreck. Sadly, it was. And the names that came out weren't a shocker to anybody. What's up, Latoya? The names that came out were not a shock to anybody. These were names that people had already heard, right? These were names that, like, what's his name? Bryan Singer. Like if somebody comes out tomorrow and alleges that Bryan Singer touches, people who are underage, I don't think anybody's going to do the shocked Home Alone look, right? You want to know who the lowlives and the freaks are? Watch Family Guy. I'm not kidding. They'll pick on them. They'll crack jokes about it. They do it all the time, right? Because that's who Seth MacFarlane is. He was calling out Harvey Weinstein long before anybody was saying it out loud. I think we're all yeah. Well, Dell, I can't argue that one with you. You could drop a microphone if you got one. You know what? I don't think he was. I don't think Denzel was referring to a human being. I think he was literally meaning when the devil arrives. And if you ever spent any time breaking the law, right? If you ever spent any time around bad people, there is a point usually where things go from, well, this is kind of normal to this ain't normal at all, right? That what we're doing here is now not right, and it feels like that. It really does. It feels like, you know what, the devil has just arrived. I robbed a lot of banks. Normal people don't do that, right? Nobody in their right mind robs banks. I did it because of dope, you know. But I think you're going to see that J Lo participated in a lot of this stuff. Sorry, but that's my humble opinion. It's just my humble opinion. But because allegedly this was all some kind of a photo op, right? This wasn't even going to be a real relationship. This was just because it was going to benefit both of their brands, right? But we see video and we see stills of these people fighting like only those who are sleeping with one another can do, right? Those fights definitely look like they were actually dating, right? I do love me some Raycon earbuds from Ray J. Think this will help or hurt his business. It depends on how. Once again, these people's proximity to Diddy, we're looking at people right now. I promise you that we're going to get shocked about. Right? We're going to end up finding out that these people were involved in things. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not Ray J is how he comes out of this. It's going to be interesting to see how a lot of people come out of this, right? Because all of the people who are starting to speak, who were from Diddy's past, they were in the Diddyverse, right? All of these people that are starting to speak seem to be doing it in a way to distance themselves as far away from Diddy as they possibly can. But that's just not the way it was, right? We all know that. I think a lot of these people spent a lot of time, very close to the dude. And now it's everything they can do to say, no, I wasn't anywhere near him. What does Leah Remini know? Allegedly. I don't know, but if you're watching, Leah, I absolutely love you. Give me a call. Right? Send me an email, TommyScoville@gmail.com. I love you. We can talk. I met Leah at the Danny Masterson sentencing. I was out there that day, and she was there. Wow. I believe Ray J was part of Whitney's death. Well, I'll tell you something. I think that Clive Davis has, cloven feet. For real. That guy's got hooves. He doesn't have feet. He is about as evil, in my humble opinion. That cat's about as evil as anybody on planet Earth currently. For real. Just an old pervert, right? That has been teaching, by all accounts, again, this isn't something Diddy invented. Someone recently, someone just put up a comment earlier that said, this stuff's been going on forever. Yes and no, right? I think that there is a distinction in this that I think is worth talking about, right? Because what makes these really unique is that they're not simply attacking people, right? They're using this industry, right? This industry to attack people so that when it's all said and done at the end, there will be jackasses who can send me emails every day going, well, they wanted it. They knew they were trying to be a star. That's not consent, people. That's not consent. Joining late, playing devil's advocate here. Could it be Diddy's raid was done by the corrupt to sacrifice him to save themselves and control what tapes are found and or destroyed? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know that. I think that there are more people who assume that that's the truth, Copper Top, than there are people who think that that's probably a stretch, right? I think a lot of people think that that right from Jump Street, this is going to go to a certain level and it's not going to go above that level. And that's disturbing because there are some people whose names would need to be looked into, right? Jimmy Iovine. There's a lot of names of people that just seem like maybe they need to get looked at, right? Just Tommy's humble opinion. But maybe take a look at him, huh? Maybe take a look at him. Lake Erie, good to see you. Love the hat. Why, thank you. I'm a fan. I always dig this. I probably don't have a clue. I'm absolutely willing to admit that I don't have a clue. That's it's pretty solid. I think that you're probably not too far off on that. Avina Sativa, good to see you. How are you? Jason Parker, what's happening? Hey, Matters. I believe they are responsible for a number of deaths, including Kim, Prince, and MJ. If they are, do you think they will ever be held accountable? Well, you know something? We know Diddy was big time responsible for the death of 9 people at a stupid show that he tried to put on back in his college days. Right? I have been making a list of people that died in unusual ways who were in the Diddyverse, and we're going to be doing a show on it. And the number I'm up to, I'm not exactly sure. I know it's over a dozen already, but these are, start thinking about how many people in your sphere of influence do you know who have passed away in your lifetime? Right? We're about the same age, me and Diddy. So I start thinking of all of my friends. Now, I'm not talking about, like, my junkie friends are all gone. Every one of them that I did dope with is gone except Jack. Everybody. But like people who aren't strung out on dope, I don't have that many people that have passed away. 2 that I could come up with on my list. Boy, oh boy, did he have a lot more than 2. A lot more than 2. It's not completely normal. I don't doubt for a hot second that that Leah knows things. So J-Lo's dad is a Scientologist. And of course, Leah is a former Scientologist. No, I think that there's a lot. There's probably a lot there. I think you're right. Why, thank you, Johnny Scoville. I really appreciate that, man. MDAs don't do squat when crimes are committed. That is a fact. All right, people, you know something? I'm out of here. That's the news, and I am out of here. I am tired as they get. I really am. I'm tired. I will see all of you tomorrow. Do me a favor between now and the next time we all get together. Do me a favor, huh? Reach out and try to save somebody. Have a great night, everyone. Bye-bye.